Hello, BookTube. I thought we'd try another mail haul very calmly, hoping for no interruptions, hoping to get through the whole thing without anything happening to stop the filming. No dog emergencies, no teenager emergencies. I got a loud weather alert on my phone that was like a siren and that stopped everything else that was happening on the phone. No, nothing at all. Just me, you, and the books. We're going to give it a try and see. And because I'm a thrill seeker, we're going to try more than just a couple of books. We're going to try a normal sized mail haul and see if we can get all the way to the end. And the end is a box. So maybe we can get things back to normal. I don't want to be receiving mail that you haven't seen. So we'll start with this one here and see what happens. We'll just see if I can get all the way to the end of this video without needing to simply delete it. So what have we got here? Oh, what's this? Oh, it's the new Pauline Simons, the author of The Bronze Horseman, that was really kind of enjoyable. This one is called The Girl in Times Square. It's a big thing, too. It's going to be, wow, 608 pages. And it comes out as a paperback original in December. So that's great. And it comes out as a... But why would the author of The Bronze Horseman need to come out with a paperback original? Oh, because this is from 2004. Okay, this is not a new book. It's just a reprint. A nice looking one, too. What have we got here? Okay, so the ever-increasing fan base. So her publisher knows that and is flushing out her backstock. Another captivating tale of romance, mystery, and drama that readers aren't likely to forget. Lily Quinn is having the quintessential New York City college experience. Broke, struggling to keep up with her courses, pay rent, and find love. There's a huge segment of the New York student population that doesn't experience anything like that. New York is increasingly becoming a place for the mega wealthy. I myself know two young people who will be starting college at two different colleges in New York in the fall, just a month from now, who not only have their apartments picked out, redecorated, and paid for, but who have 4 years of college paid for. Their parents wired 4 years of tuition to the school ahead of time. So they're not worrying about anything like this, but I guess probably millions of students in New York. Well, probably a lot of them do. At times, adrift in the madness of the Big Apple, the most interesting thing in Lily's life seems to happen to people around her. That's a mistake, of course. The most interesting things in Lily's life are not at times adrift in Times Square, in the madness of the Big Apple. But Lily makes the most of her laid-back existence. Doesn't sound laid-back. Her friend and roommate Amy disappears. Amy is the most generous, kind-hearted friend Lily has ever known, and then in a twinkling, she's gone. Spencer Patrick O'Malley is the cynical NYPD detective encountered in Red Leaves, another Simon's book. Wrestling with his own demons, Spencer enters Lily's world like a force of nature as he works to solve the mystery of her missing friend. A sudden financial windfall should bring Lily joy, but instead it becomes an ominous portent of dark forces gathering around her. Sounds kind of interesting. It's a bit of a shame that I will neither read it nor review it, because I don't want to read any more about girls. I don't want that to ever occur in the title of a book in English ever again. And I'm going to do my part. The most craven and absolutely ridiculous publishing bandwagon I've ever seen in an entire lifetime devoted to watching the publishing industry. I don't care if that was what it was originally called in 2004. Call it something else in 2017. But anyway, let's move on to the next one here and see what we've got. What have we here? Oh, fantastic. Okay, great. This is called The Girl in the Room. Just kidding. It's called Adults in the Room by Yanis Varoufakis. I think he was the finance minister of Greece. I actually requested this because I've heard murmurings that it's actually a fantastic read. let me see here. He's the former finance minister of Greece and the co-founder of an international grass movement, DIEM 25, that is campaigning for the revival of democracy in Europe. He's been teaching for many years in the United States, Great Britain, and Australia, and he is currently the professor of economics at the University of Athens. And he'll be coming to Boston. According to this, he'll be coming to Boston to promote this book. I might like to meet him. It's a shame I'd have to put on pants to do that. Let's see here. An explosive headline-making account from the world-famous economist of what happened when he took on the global power elite. In this blistering memoir and expose, world-famous economist Varoufakis blows the lid off the world's deep establishment, exposing what actually goes on behind the scenes in the corridors of power. He offers a fascinatingly candid, I-was-there account of his meetings with Barack Obama, Lawrence Summers, and European leaders, and exposes the hypocrisies, spelled wrong, but that's okay, power plays, and frustrated good intentions that control the fate of nations large and small. As finance minister of Greece, he sparked one of the most spectacular and controversial battles in recent political history when he attempted to renegotiate his country's relationship with Europe's banks and governments. Seen from my admittedly great distance, I do not think that is an accurate description of what he tried to do. But I will look forward to having a ringside seat for his description of it. Despite the mass support of the Greek people and the simple logic of his argument that the gargantuan loans and crushing austerity forced on his bankrupt country were self-defeating. Okay. He succeeded only in provoking the fury of the political and media establishment. But the true story of what happened is almost entirely unknown because so much of the global elite's real business takes place behind closed doors. You have to admit, that does sound fascinating. So this comes out, what is this? This comes out in hardcover in early October, but I am looking forward to this, so I'll be getting to it long before then. Let's see what this next one is here. Doing fine so far. No emergencies, no trouble of any kind. That's great. Okay, so the next one is The Girl with the Killer Choice. It's just Killer Choice by Tom Hunt. It's a thriller, and it comes out in January 30th, 2018. Which is rumored to be my winter birthday. So this will be kind of a birthday present. Let's see here. It's a debut novel, if I remember correctly. Yes, it is. It's a debut novel. There's our author. You can't really make that out, but he's in some sort of a trench coat. He doesn't look happy. They have blurbs from all these big-name people. But let's see here. His wife is sick. He needs $200,000 to save her. Must be in America. A mysterious man offers to give him the money with just one catch. He has to murder someone to get it. In South Boston, that would not be a catch, provided the someone was a member of your family. You'd consider doing it just gratis. For fans of Harlan Coben, Lisa Gardner, and Joseph Finder comes a compact, tightly coiled, one-sit read centered on an ordinary guy facing an extraordinary dilemma. Most of my reads are one sit, but I take the gist of it. A nail-biting work of domestic suspense. Gary Foster's life is finally heading in the right direction. Never a good idea in a thriller. After years of trying, his wife Beth is pregnant, and he recently opened a business with his younger brother. But then Beth, 7 months along, is diagnosed with an inoperable brain tumor. There is only hope of an experimental treatment available abroad, but it's not covered by their insurance. Gary and Beth exploit every avenue to raise the money, but only to encounter dead ends, and Beth's time is running out. That's when a strange man approaches Gary and offers the money he needs on one condition, that he kills someone, no questions asked. Gary's choice forces him to confront the darkest reaches of his soul and betray those closest to him. As he's swept up in a nightmare of escalating violence, he must determine just how far he's willing to go to save the woman he loves. A ticking clock, a moral dilemma, and a mysterious, dangerous benefactor pulling the strings combine to draw readers in and hold them throughout. The story unravels at breakneck pace. I think I know what that's supposed to say. Gotta love publicists. They work really hard. But saying the story unravels at a breakneck pace is actually bashing it, not describing it. And bashing it is my job. Leading up to a genuinely unexpected and heartbreaking twist, I'd be willing to bet you the $20,000 mentioned in the plot summary that I can tell you every detail of that genuinely unexpected twist. I bet I could do that. I'd be willing to bet $20,000 if we had the money on the table that I could tell you in very simple terms what that twist was, and I'd be right. But you never know. The debut author, it's a brand new ground. It could be that he will surprise me. In a 6-figure preempt, Berkley secured the rights to Killer Choice and a second novel to follow, which also features a moral dilemma at its core. Wow, so they're just announcing that this guy's financially set for life, and that they're gambling a lot on this book. That's kind of rare. Although, I should point out... You people just wait, don't you? You have the popcorn ready, and you just wait for me to start a sentence with, although I should point out. Although I should point out, that plot description that we just heard does not contain a moral dilemma. Okay? Let's make sure that we're not so far lost in the brambles of the 21st century that we think it does. Someone coming to you and saying, I will pay for your wife's life-saving medical expenses if you will kill a stranger, is not presenting you with a moral problem. I could still enjoy the book, though. Let's just move on. Here I am asking for trouble. Okay. This is a finished copy of something we saw before. I think it's shown up on this channel before. This is As If, Idealization and Ideas by Kwame Anthea Appiah, who is a professor of philosophy and law at New York University. This is another Harvard egghead title in philosophy. Idealization is a fundamental feature of human thought. We build simplified models in a scientific research and utopias in our political imaginations. Concepts like belief, desire, reason, and justice are bound up with idealization and ideals. Life is a constant adjustment between the models we make and the realities we encounter. In idealizing, we proceed as if our representations were true, while knowing they are not. Do you? I'm not picking a fight with the author, or the publicist who wrote this. I'm asking, do you? You don't? Of course. What did that sentence say? In idealizing, we proceed as if our representations were true, while knowing they are not. Do you proceed that way? Do you ever, in the course of an average day, proceed as if your idealized expectation is actually true? So you get to Union Square, and you're in a hurry to get where you're going, and in your idealized version of Union Square, it's cool instead of 95 degrees, it's 50% humidity instead of 80% humidity, and you are in a hurry and can dart across the street because there's no traffic. Do you proceed that way? Do you? The bodies would be stacked 20 feet high in Union Square if people acted on their idealizations as if they were true. I didn't read the advanced copy of this book though, so I've noticed that the more abstruse the content is for any book, the more afield the pub sheets tend to be. So, there's probably a lot more going on in this book than the publicist even had the space to talk about. So I will read the finished copy and see. Let's see. Let's move on here. What is this next one? This is The Girl in the Avignon Papacy. Just kidding. It's the Avignon Papacy Contested, an intellectual history from Dante to Catherine of Siena. In case you can't wait for the movie. So this is my Un Falkheid. UNN is this person's name. First name. Why can't I have a first name UNN? So, associate professor of history at the University of Oslo. And this is just a Harvard University Press, Steve book, just right up the road. Just pure abstruse history. I actually don't know what kind of commercial appeal they ever expect these things to have. I've mentioned it on this channel before. This is going to be a $50 hardcover of intellectual history contesting the Avignon papacy. So, you're not going to sell that to anybody who finds it in a bookstore. Are you? I mean, it's not possible that has an audience. I don't know. Maybe it's directed more squarely at people like me than I'm first willing to credit. Since if you a couple of my friends have pointed out, if you lump all of my publication venues together, you get a very large audience, and it stands to reason that if especially in online, somebody who's reading an electronic version of one of those reviews likes the tone, maybe chuckles a bit or learns something, it stands to reason that they might look for the same reviewer elsewhere. So it's not totally unrealistic to lump those audiences together, which means that in a case like this, and it has happened, I could reach a readership that might want to buy this thing for $50, even though it's abstruse. Well, let's find out how abstruse it is. The Avignon papacy represented the zenith of papal power in Europe. The Roman Curia's move to southern France enlarged its bureaucracy, centralized its authority, and initiated closer contact with secular institutions. Yes, that's one way to put what it did. The Pope's presence also attracted leading minds to Avignon, transforming a modest city into a cosmopolitan center of learning. Oh, come now, Seymour. Help us. But a crisis of legitimacy was brewing among the leading thinkers of the day. This book considers the work of 6 14th century writers who waged literary war against the Catholic Church's increasing claims of supremacy over secular rulers, a conflict that engaged contemporary critics from every corner of Europe. Okay, all right. So this comes out in late August. I want to read it right away. I think whoever sent it to me probably knew exactly what they were doing. But I'm now curious to know who those people are. I wonder if we'll be told who those people are. Well, not really, no. Marsilius of Padua, William of Ockham, the famous William of Ockham, Catherine of Siena. Well, this is right up Steve's alley, so it doesn't matter. I can question whether or not it has an audience some other day. It has an audience of 1, that's for sure. So let's barrel on here. We're doing fine. We're approaching the dreaded 20-minute mark. But several of you have emailed me. I mentioned the 20-minute mark several times in videos. Several of you have emailed me and texted me and said, that might be true, but we give you an exemption. You can natter on about books as long as you want. So I don't know who to believe. But anyway, let's see here. Okay, so this next one is also a finished copy. This is Beyond Test Scores, Better Ways to Measure School Quality by Jack Schneider. Is it expecting me to understand it without a pub sheet? I can't understand anything without a pub sheet. Let's see here. This is also Harvard. This is a very Harvard haul here. How do you measure school quality? In all too many cases, the answer is standardized test scores. But what do those scores really tell us? After all, they do little to explain why students perform well or score poorly. That isn't true. That isn't true. It says they do little to explain why students perform well or score poorly. But the students who perform well on standardized tests are almost universally the students who worked really, really hard in order to score well on standardized tests, which might seem like a closed circle, but it actually tells us something a lot about those students. Are they willing to prioritize future gains over present happiness? Are they willing to discipline themselves? Are they willing to put away the smart technology and the video games and put in 4 hours of work a day? in order to prepare for this thing that has no immediate benefit to them. Those things speak to what kind of a student they will be. It's only in, like, sorry. Test scores fail to tell us about the qualities we value in our schools. Are our children safe? Are they healthy? Are they happy? Good Lord. Those are qualities we value in our homes. Are they safe? Are they happy? Those are qualities we value in our homes and among our friends. They don't even make the top 5 in qualities of what we value in schools. Maybe they do, and maybe that says a lot about what's wrong with the American school system. But then again, on this subject more than many, I am probably vulnerable to accusations of old fartism. Do they have opportunities to create and play? So the qualities we value in our schools, one of them is the opportunities that students have to play. Okay. And what are they actually learning? Well, they're learning, how to whine about creativity and also how to litigate about whether or not they have enough time to play. That's good. Yet, despite these significant limitations, test scores have traditionally served as the sole measure for a school's perceived quality and reputation. What other measure can we use that can work across a wide variety of schools? I mean, looking in retrospect, you can certainly use a better indication. In retrospect, you can look at someone and say, you can look at 50 people across a board and say, okay, well, I'm noticing that these people are good problem solvers, they're good communicators, they seem balanced, they seem inquisitive, they have fairly well-trained minds, and you can very legitimately say, all right, looking retrospectively, I can say they must have had good schooling. But I don't know, how can you possibly do that in the moment other than test scores? I have a lot of sympathy for school administrators who don't like the standardization of test scores but can't come up with any other way. Maybe I should let Jack Schneider get a word in edgewise. Maybe he would tell me the answers to these outraged questions. Arguing that results are more often indicative of students' socioeconomic status than the quality of the schools themselves, he offers a corrective to our current approach toward educational measurement. It is time, he argues, to think holistically, to ask tougher questions about performance and rethink what it is we value in our children's education. Oh, that sounds dangerous. But you never know. I have the advanced copy of this thing, and it comes out in a week, and I haven't read it yet. So again, this is a Harvard University Press guilt trip, is what this is. But then we're at the last one. We're at the box. So then we'll wrap things up. What is this one? Oh, well, all right. You can see this is a duplicate. This is a duplicate. It's a duplicate. I'm very happy to see it anyway. This is not from Harvard University Press. This is The Massacre of Mankind by Stephen Baxter. And it is War of the Worlds, Part 2. This time, it's personal. It's on the 120th anniversary of the publication of the H.G. Wells Classic, and it's an authorized sequel, the very first authorized sequel. I don't know what it is. Thomas at SFF 180, when he is a mail haul, he's opening one cutting-edge, super intelligent, ambitious science fiction epic after another, and all I'm getting are dinosaurs with knights on their backs and the massacre of mankind. It's like publishers know where to send the schlock stuff, maybe because I've mentioned a certain 50-foot albino prehistoric killer shark one too many times on this channel. But anyway, let's just wrap up, shall we? This August, Crown is publishing the first authorized sequel to The War of the Worlds, penned by British science fiction grandmaster Stephen Baxter, whom the BBC has dubbed Wells' current representative on Earth. Okay. Klaatu, Gort, Barada, Nikto. But is Stephen Baxter actually a grandmaster? The thing that the pub sheet writer might not know is that that's actually a distinction in the science fiction writing community. And I don't recall that Stephen Baxter is a grandmaster of science fiction. But anyway, that's a nerdosaurus point for another time. So where were we before we talked about the Messiah? All right, yes, okay. Arguably the father of the dystopian genre, Wells used science fiction to comment on contemporary human society. He foresaw the dangers of uninhibited technological advancement and social Darwinism, and the War of the Worlds was a stark warning. The Martians' planet was dying from climate collapse, and they were prepared to conquer those who they saw as inferior animals. And before we judge them too harshly, Wells wrote, we must remember that what ruthless and utter destruction our own species has wrought. Now Baxter, like Wells, has embedded warnings in the subtext of the book. Oh, well, you don't want to stress that you're being preached to. Is it a good book? War of the Worlds doesn't let you down. The setting, for one, is a world in which Germany and the Central Powers were not soundly defeated in World War I. Rather, their creeping spread is tolerated. Oh, so it's an alternate world. Okay. Indeed, it's an alternate world. Oh, these Martians are attacking an alternate world. The Englishmen battling the Martians are aghast that they're fighting alongside some of these very German soldiers. The Martians, then, are not the only ones who think they have the right to use technology and warfare to conquer those inferior to themselves. The massacre of mankind picks up 14 years after the Martian invasion of England. The world has moved on, always watching the skies, but content that they know how to defeat the Martians. Machinery looted from the abandoned capsules and war machines has led to a technological leaps forward. The Martians are vulnerable to Earth germs. The army is prepared. But the Martians have been learning too. And this time, they're coming back to stay. Thrust into the chaos of a new worldwide invasion is journalist Julie Elphinstone, sister-in-law to Walter Jenkins, the narrator of War of the Worlds. After receiving an unsettling call from Walter warning of grave news from the sky, she books passage on the Lusitania from New York to England, hoping to unravel the truth behind his mysterious warnings. Days later, the first wave of Martian cylinders land in England with devastating effect. A little less than half of the British army is destroyed in the first minutes of the assault. The violence is overwhelming and soon spreads beyond England's borders and across the world. And the reason, sorry, did I give you a date on this? Yes, it comes out at the end of August. And the reason that I was bouncily overjoyed is, you can see the reason, is because I've already read this and I loved it. so I highly recommend The Massacre of Mankind. I might recommend first that you read War of the Worlds, especially since a lot of people are surprised to learn how short War of the Worlds is. It won't take you any time at all. You can do it in one afternoon. But I want to stress that even if you haven't read War of the Worlds, you will love this book. Well, there you go. Oh my God, look at how long this video is. I'm gonna go for now. But since we're talking about the H.G. Wells and War of the Worlds, I can't help but end the video in Simpsons style. Keep watching the skis. Thank you, BookTube. Terribly sorry.